Well, good morning, Realtor friends. How's everybody at 9 o'clock? It's a pretty impressive crowd considering how many were still in the bar and making their effort at dancing last night. And I did not join you because of reasons that you're all firmly aware of. I have no business dancing with you. If we've never had a chance to meet, I am Leigh Brown. I'm a 25-year realtor from Cabarrus County, which is 1 B and 2 R's. Thank you, please, for spelling it right. And I don't know about y'all, but I've gotten exhausted by real estate. I know what a house is worth when you give me the address. I know it's not going to be in great condition. I'm going to have to tell you what to do, and you're going to argue with me, and I'm going to have to win. And then I'm going to sell it, and you're going to kind of be happy about it, but you're going to kind of be unhappy about it, and I have to act happy about the whole thing. And I can, and I'm good at it. But it can drain you when you just don't feel the joy that you felt probably at 2 and 3 years in the business when you were excited when the phone rang. Anybody know that feeling? And you can feel that way when you're looking at politics and you know how important the policy matters are and you have great opinions, but then you're being led by people who don't seem to be as thoughtful as you are. And they don't seem to be interested in thoughtful decisions. They seem to be interested in sound bites on TikTok. And it's just exhausting. Does anybody feel me on that? And then you start thinking about the general profession that we're in and what's happened in the last 2 years since that decision came down in October of 23, when we already knew the public didn't really respect us or like us, but that legal decision turned it into a moment when it was open season on realtors to say, you're not worth a daggum thing, you should never be paid, go get a real job. And they've told the public that over and over, while the public still kind of wanted to hire you because they kind of felt like they needed you, but they were being told they didn't, and you're the one that got exhausted by how real estate is portrayed. Do you feel me on that? And so I will tell you that when I look at the way things just feel inauthentic and they feel fake, and we bear the brunt of it because we're in a profession where the change that's hitting us is so frequent that you can almost get burned out by the change. I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm a tiny boutique brokerage. There's 3.5 of us. One of them's on maternities. That's why she's a half an agent. And so we have 3.5 agents. I don't know what's going to happen when we have behemoth brokerages. I don't know what's going to happen to the multiple listing service, which is the last free and fair marketplace on planet Earth. But I'm exhausted because our associations and our brokerages and our members haven't figured out how to tell the story of what we do and of our tools. And so we wind up just kind of going along with the flow, and the flow is not good to us. So when all of those things happen, I've been asking myself, yes, I'm a woman of a certain age. When you're in your 50s, you simultaneously have no filter and no plan. Anybody know what that's like? So I do belong to the We Do Not Care Club, and if you're not following Just Being Melanie online, that's my favorite influencer who ever influenced anybody. And when I realize we're in this very weird space, I have felt really disconnected. And I don't know what to do with that disconnect because I am good at real estate and I do really enjoy some of my clients and I really enjoy the work that we've done in organized real estate. And it really does exhaust me how we don't treat each other in a way that recognizes that each of us has really unique skills and talents and is here for a really diverse set of reasons, and it's exhausting. So what does come next? Well, you have to figure out that the next thing that's happening is what you're doing right now, and we've forgotten that. I think the COVID years did that to us because for 5 years, you've had real estate in reaction mode. You got to write an offer, deadline's in an hour, let's do it. There's 40 offers, I don't care what you have available, let's just throw a number at it. What are the comps? Doesn't matter, make something up, and let's see what happens, and then you send them a DocuSign, and they signed it. The other agent didn't acknowledge it. You never got an answer back, and your buyers are screaming at you. You're like, I don't know what to tell you. There were 45 offers. Shut up. You weren't even full price, whatever. And so you're in this space of reacting. And now we're in a space where you'd like to react, but you're exhausted. And the world's changing around us. Everything that you do today is going to set you up for the change that's coming tomorrow. The next that you need to be ready for is what you should be doing right now. This was made really clear to me a little over 1 year ago when on September 27th of 2024, Helene hit Western North Carolina. I'm not from Western North Carolina. I spent my entire life coming to the mountains. I got family in the mountains. I'm from the Piedmont. And by the way, we should go back to teaching the fourth graders. We have 3 sections of the state. We got the mountains and the Piedmont and the coast, the end. And I saw it on a plane because I was coming back from New Mexico. I've been teaching strategic planning to realtors who didn't want to hear anything I had to say, because what did they want to do? The things they'd always done. And why don't they change anything? Because that's not the way we've always done it. They're stuck in that place of, I don't like it, but I'm afraid to say a thing. Because if I say something, what if I'm the only one? And nobody wants to be the outlier. Nobody wants to get shouted down, even if your one voice is the idea we were all waiting for somebody to say out loud. Not just that you had an idea, but you were willing to say it. And so I'd spent 2 days with this crowd begging them to talk to each other. And then I'm sitting on a plane coming home. I'm looking at Twitter, because the cell phone towers didn't all go out right away, if y'all remember. Some of the footage was getting out. And I'm thinking, what is going on? The plane lands, and it was my wedding anniversary. Steve and I have been married 22 years on September 27th, and this would be the 4th time a hurricane's hit on our anniversary. So what do we do every anniversary? We do hurricane relief. That's our thing. Except normally we're riding out to the coast. We're riding out to Conway. We've been to Conway 2 of those 4 times. And so we go out and do things. I said, well, we're going to load the moving truck up and see what happens, because, you know, buy or sell with me, use this truck for free. And so I get my truck ready, and I tell my team we're going to let people know. I put a post on the Facebook, and it went viral. I'd never had a Facebook viral before, but 1,000 shares of people who also saw what I did. This one's different. This one's bigger. This is people who don't know how to react to it. At the coast, we know the water goes away, but in the mountains it came down and hurt more counties. And so that viral post turned into 60 people who signed up with their trailers to go get water from the water plant that said we could have pallets of water, but they didn't really mean to say that because they didn't want to give me as much as my people signed up for. So then they said no, which was a whole moment of clarity for me that sometimes people say yes, but they really mean a little bit. And I watched this reaction and I said, this is not normal. Something different is happening here, because all the people who had been frustrated by politics not listening to them all said, but I want to do something for my neighbors. And all the people in real estate who should have had their own things to do or behave like we're told to behave said, let me work with you, like Chris Puckett right there, who is in my county, and he got his company involved. And then Cindy Hansen, who's not here, she got her company involved. And we said, how about we all do this together? And so I'm watching this entirely different reaction. And what I got back immediately was a sense that, okay, there is a foundation here, and the foundation is not what I thought it was. The foundation is stronger and better because it's the people. And the people, as it turns out, don't hate each other as much as the media told you they do. And the people don't hate realtors. It's the journalists and the lawyers who hate realtors because they're jealous of us, because we get to live our own independent lives. And so when you take away all the things that we're told will divide us, people come together. And what built that up was a sense of trust. And so what I want to tell you is that for you to figure out what the next phase of your life looks like, you better be building trust right now. And I believe we're in a low trust society. I worry now about going out to run by myself in a way I did not worry a decade ago. And frankly, I'm less of a target now. I'm older and gamier. Nobody's going to come after me. I'm slower than I was. They can get me. They don't want me no more. But I'm worried. And why am I worried? Because we seem to have lost that sense of common humanity that we used to have. And I do blame COVID for a part of that, because we were told to stop hugging. We were told to stop interacting with each other. We were told to get on a Zoom rectangle instead of sitting with each other where we could have eye contact and read body language and understand that the human across from us has really specific needs. And oh, by the way, that's what realtors have done as long as we've been in business. We look at that person across the way and we build trust by listening, and then by reacting to that human in that moment right there without all the noise of everything else in their space. And I'm looking at what happened in Western North Carolina, and it was all noise. But the noise was from people who weren't there. The clarity was from the people who were. The neighbors who were in need, they knew who they could trust. And the people who leaned in, they knew who to communicate with to get into the places where there was great need and serve that great need with great dignity and with honor. Not because somebody was less than you, but because they were actually just in need at this moment, and we had to serve each other. And so when I'm getting that clarity moment, and I'm looking at the trust that was created in a disaster zone, I figured out that people were trusting me, and I couldn't figure out why for a minute. Because what y'all don't maybe know is that people started sending me money when my videos were going viral. And it was a lot of money on Venmo and Zelle and Cash App. And in the first 30 days, I had $350,000 come to me by these electronic means. And if you know me, this came from Marshall's. It was $14.99. I do not do money very well. I'm panicked about it all the time. And I'm thinking, you people are sending me a great amount of money. What are you doing? You do not know me. I'm a stranger from the internet. What's going on? So I would ask them, why? Why are you sending me money? And what'd they say? We feel like we can trust you. We feel like you're genuine. We feel like you're the right person. I'm like, I'll be good with your money. I promise I'll send you receipts. This is really wigging me out. And so I took all that money and I kept trusting more people because trust is transferable. And one thing we have forgotten in our world of siloed real estate is that when we trust each other in our own markets, then we get this opportunity to transfer that to the people we serve, whether it's in real estate or in our churches or in our families, especially in our families. And when you transfer that trust, you get to do big things. And so what had happened is it went from a 15-foot truck to a semi-trailer that was donated by the shoe show. By the way, when you're buying shoes, go to the strip mall near you in North Carolina and buy from the shoe show, because the Tucker family are some of the biggest philanthropists we have, and they go under the radar. And the Tuckers gave me a semi-truck and said, go on and fill it up, and so we did. And I had to get things. People needed diapers and formula and fuel. I didn't have time to do all the shopping. So I had people raise their hand that I'd never met before, roll up and say, what you need? I'm like, I need you to go shopping. Here's $2,000. Go get some stuff. You know what they did? They went and spent the money and came back with their receipts, because as it turns out, when you transfer that trust with the belief that people are good, a lot of people really still are good. And maybe we've been lied to by so many of these resources that people want to do great things. And so when I'm watching this happen and the money's coming in, I'm now talking to the strangers on the internet and on text and on phone calls, because they can find my phone number. By the way, if you want to transfer trust, make sure you're able to be found, y'all. Put your phone number on your websites. Quit being worried about scammers, because a lot of y'all are too chicken to let people find you as a realtor. But anyway, so they're calling me, and they said, we want to do this, we want to do that. And I would say to all of them, why? Why are you sending this to me? You don't know me. What are you doing? Don't be the person who falls for the scams. I'm not a Nigerian prince either. I don't understand people that fall for scams. I'm not one. What are you doing? And when they said that they could trust me because of the videos, I felt like I had to support that trust. And so when you transfer the trust, you too will feel the calling to be the better person that somebody else saw in you. And so is there a reality that the next version of who we are could be better if we let people trust us, because then we can live up to what they believe? We know this about children. When you tell them negative things, they will live down to that. But when you tell them what the opportunities are, they will go up to that. So what if we finally raise the bar in real estate by allowing ourselves to trust our fellow realtors, and by being somebody they can trust too, whether it's in a transaction or in prospecting or in how we behave in a real estate trade association that is desperately necessary, but we don't even have enough members here because maybe we didn't leave room for them in the spaces where we are. And so as we build this trust and transfer it, I was asking too, how do you trust me? Why? Because I'm very nosy and inquisitive. That's what my name was on the board for in the elementary school. Busybody, talks too much, maybe gossip, but okay, I'm working on that one. When you start getting inquisitive, that's also the key to your real estate business. Y'all, right now there's people with credit cards that are maxed out. They're worried about their jobs. They can't get a home equity line because they don't have the credit to tap into that ghost equity in the house. So you got to ask more questions about why they called you to sell, because maybe we've been telling too many lies to them, so they thought they were trapped by that interest rate, but the interest rate kept them from calling you because they heard you say that they shouldn't sell, because they have a low interest rate when they needed to sell regardless of the interest rate. So we have to start asking these better questions. And as I'm digging and digging, what they told me is we could look at everything you've ever done on social media. These strangers were watching my history of videos. They saw all my hairdos. They saw all the things I used to say, because I'm proud to say I've grown as a human. I am proud to say that I am a better version of myself than I was 10 years ago. So you ask yourself this: are we in a low trust society because we've told people that the one moment we didn't like them is all they are ever allowed to be? What if we start telling people, I love it that you're a better person today, that you're softer, that you're better at your calling, and that you live Jesus's calling better than you did, and yes, I hope you'll still keep growing. We have to allow for each other to have a next that is bigger and bolder and going to change things for other people. And so when I'm thinking about that piece and watching the fact that they're watching all of my old videos, I realized that the trust that I had built by accident had three components. And so if you too want to rebuild trust so that the next version of your business and your relationships and your life is built up differently, the first one is this: you have to be available. So when I mentioned that my phone number was accessible, yes, I had some very strange phone calls. But you know what? I said to them, and then I hung up, and they don't know that Verizon didn't just die. And because I'm a little passive aggressive, that's easier for me than just hanging up. I was raised as a child in the 70s and 80s, and so we had the satisfaction back then of hanging up, and it slammed, and it felt good. And now you don't have that. Now you just have to mash a button. And so if you too are chicken, don't do it. And so I was realizing too, as I talked to people, they said, you're the first one to call me back. You're the only one to call me back. Who's heard that in real estate? That's happened as long as I've been in the business. Joshua, you're a regularly new realtor, and here you are saying it's happened to you, because the availability is enormous. And then I was finding it with recipients of help. You should know that in the mountains of Western North Carolina, nobody wants help. They want to give it. And the first thing I was told every single time, somebody else needs it more than me. And they were looking for me to go give it to somebody else. And so I learned to strike deals. And I said, look, if you'll take my help, then the price to you is you find me somebody else that will take my help. And they'd say sold. And so I could get them to help me find recipients. But then as I'm talking to these families who've lost everything, they've lost family members, family dogs, homes, cars, businesses, you name it. When I'm talking to them, they tried other organizations. Yes, FEMA failed North Carolina. Yes, our North Carolina government failed Western North Carolina. But the people did not fail to serve their fellow citizens of North Carolina, and you should know that. Just because somebody else has failed doesn't mean that you have that option. Just because somebody else said, don't do it, there's other people there. Don't listen to that, because the person to whom you're talking might be the only chance they have to be helped. That was where I saw these opportunities, and I found out that all they really wanted was a call back. That's all your clients want too, y'all. We're in a time when pricing is changing in the market. You cannot hide from your sellers when it does not sell. This is when you call them and say, hey, boo, the price didn't work. We're going to have to adjust. And they say, how much? And you say, well, let me run some data for you, because I hope y'all don't just feel your pricing. I hope that you do some research and say, I believe based on the data we should go to X so that you have a chance to succeed. That's what your availability looks like. It's not a passive thing. It is a proactive thing, because the second part of rebuilding your trust is taking action. I can't tell y'all how many people that I love and respect who told me to pipe down. Other people are going to take care of Western North Carolina. You're creating too much of a ruckus. And you know how many of them I listened to? None of them, because the Lord told me to go help, and I'm going to listen to Him. I'm not listening to the negative voices out there. Because when I went to serve, I'm serving people who are treated in their own communities as less than. And I've seen it with realtors, and you've seen it too. The people who said, I don't work that price point. That's unacceptable to me. That is discrimination too, even though it's not listed as a fair housing qualifier. I've got to be there. Now, did I work alongside the other people? When I could, yes. But you know what I found was a whole lot of grift and a whole lot of theft and a whole lot of fake people up there stealing from the people and stealing from good-hearted North Carolinians. So what did that make me do? Dig in more, because sometimes your action is being the person who's there and reliable so that somebody else can find the resource. Do I have all the answers? Absolutely not, because my nonprofit is not even a year old. I am learning every single day. And how do I learn? By doing. You don't learn by sitting behind your computer waiting for somebody else to do it. You want to build your business in a time when our industry is being set upon, you better be out there in front of people so they know that you are their local resource and not the Wall Street Journal and not the New York Times and not whatever they heard in the church fellowship hall, because you don't know who they were talking to. Somebody whose grandson used to be in real estate, that's not a good resource right now, but you are. And what does your action look like? It looks like you being yourself and being in front of people in a way that allows them to trust you, because we trust the people that we see and touch and know. It's so much more valuable than you realize. You don't have to have an audience of 1 million. The audience of 10 is who you need, because they're going to hear you. They're going to listen to you, and they're then going to take their own action. And now you're watching the ripple effect of building the trust back. And then the third piece of rebuilding trust is the one that you already know you need to have, and you have given yourself way too many excuses, and that's discipline. We've got to rebuild our discipline in ourselves, to do it when we don't want to do it, to make the phone calls when we don't want to make them, to go to the prospecting class at 11 o'clock so that you will know what to say, because there are other people who are going to make excuses. You cannot be those people. The real estate future depends on what you do right now. And what you do right now can look as simple as, I'm going to do something. Maybe it's making a video, maybe it's making a phone call, maybe it's showing up in these rooms today, maybe it's finding somebody from across the state that you've never met and choosing for the rest of the day to sit with people that you've never spent time with before. Because the discipline that you have will show up later. You might not see it today, but you will. And I can promise you this, as you rebuild the trust in your families, in your businesses, in your communities, we can actually reshape everything that's gone sideways in this amazing country through the amazing profession of real estate, because we are the only profession I know that welcomes everybody who's got a little bit of drive, a little bit of hustle, and a little bit of willingness to serve strangers with kindness and grace so that they get what they need. As it turns out, what's next all hinges on you figuring out how to get out of your own way to give somebody else what they need. Thank you.